Imagine looking out at dirt that is so toxic. Dropping a seed in it is essentially a death sentence.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, we're talking zero topsoil, completely dead biology, just rock packed with poisonous heavy metals. But what if the waste sitting on your plantation right now could actually bring that dead land back to life?
It's a huge question.
Right. Stick around because the real key takeaway on how to apply this to your own farm is coming near the end, and you definitely want to hear it.
Welcome to another podcast episode brought to you by AGS Agriculture Global Solutions, where we discuss sustainable oil palm cultivation topics.
Thanks for having me. And today we're pulling our insights from a fascinating 2022 paper published in the Journal of Ecological Engineering.
Yeah, and the mission today, especially for all of you oil palm farmers tuning in, is to look at a highly engineered biological rescue mission.
Exactly.
The researchers are looking at a post-mining site, an open-pit nickel mine.
Which is pretty much the worst-case scenario for soil. Totally. I mean, nickel mining literally strips the earth bare. But what's so cool is they didn't use billion-dollar synthetic chemicals to fix it.
No, they didn't. They relied on agricultural waste and a microscopic fungus.
Which is wild.
Yeah.
But before we get into the sort of homemade remedy, we need to understand the dirt they were dealing with. The paper calls it ultramafic soil. What does that actually mean for plant biology?
So mafic basically refers to minerals that are super heavy in magnesium and iron.
Okay.
When you strip away all the topsoil, you expose this ultramafic base layer to the elements. And mechanically, it just creates a brutally hostile environment. First off, you get a massive pH crash.
So it gets super acidic.
Highly acidic.
Yeah.
And when the environment gets that acidic, the heavy metals that were safely locked up in the rock suddenly dissolve.
They just break loose.
Right. They detach and float freely in the soil moisture. And that is where the damage happens. The exchangeable iron and aluminum levels in this soil were just off the charts.
And aluminum is highly toxic to plants, right? Like, what does it actually do if you try to grow something in it?
It's awful. It attacks the plant right at the cellular level, specifically the root caps.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So when a root tries to grow, the tips have to constantly divide and replicate DNA to push into the dirt. But this free-floating aluminum gets into the tissue and physically binds to the DNA.
Wait, it binds to the plant's DNA.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It completely disrupts the replication process. Plus, it binds to the cell walls, making them super rigid instead of flexible.
So the roots they just get stuck.
Yep, they become stunted, really thick and brittle. They can't absorb water or nutrients anymore, so the plant basically starves and dehydrates at the same time.
That is brutal. And on top of that chemical nightmare, the physical soil is just dust, right? The soil organic carbon in this test was practically zero.
Basically non-existent. And organic carbon is the sponge of your soil ecosystem, you know?
Right, it holds the water.
It holds water, feeds the microbes. Without it, the cation exchange capacity, or CEC, is incredibly low.
We talk about CEC a lot on this show. It's basically the soil's battery capacity, right?
Exactly. Soil particles like clays and organic matter have a negative charge. Nutrients have a positive charge. Opposites attract, so healthy soil holds on to plant food electromagnetically.
But if the soil battery is totally dead, like in this mine, or in really degraded farmland, it has no negative charge.
None.
You could back up a dump truck of premium synthetic fertilizer, pour it all over the field, and, well, the first time it rains, it just washes away.
It washes straight into the groundwater. The dirt literally cannot hold a charge.
Which is exactly why just throwing chemical fertilizer at degraded land fails so spectacularly.
You have to rebuild the physical architecture first. You need that chemical buffering capacity before anything can actually grow.
Okay, so this brings us to the actual intervention the researchers tested, and this is where it gets highly relevant for you guys listening. They used oil palm empty fruit bunches, which we'll call OPFB from here on out.
Right, and as you all know, the industry generates tens of millions of tons of this stuff every year.
We all have massive piles of these fibrous empty bunches lying around after the palm oil is extracted.
Exactly, and they are just packed with carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, all the good stuff.
But you can't just toss raw, tough palm waste onto toxic dirt and expect a miracle.
No. You have to process it.
Yeah.
The researchers used the Berkeley method.
The hot composting one.
Yeah, it's a super accelerated, intensive hot composting technique. You don't just leave a pile to rot for a year.
Right.
You shred the OPFB, you balance your carbon to nitrogen, and then you introduce specific effective microorganisms to kickstart it.
And it gets really hot, doesn't it?
Oh, incredibly hot. The internal temperature of those massive piles hits around 140 to 160 degrees Fahrenheit in just days. That's
Wow.
all those thermophilic bacteria just furiously breaking down the tough lignins in the palm fibers.
So you turn the pile, keep the oxygen flowing, and keep that biological fire burning.
Right. And in about a month, that tough waste transforms into this incredibly dense, highly active compost.
Okay, so the OPFB compost brings the physical bulk, the carbon, the nutrients. But looking at the study, they applied 10 tons per hectare of this stuff.
It's a heavy dose.
Yeah, I mean, 10 tons per hectare. If you've got thousands of hectares of degraded plantation, trucking in that much compost sounds like a massive headache. Is that even practical?
It sounds totally unscalable if you try to carpet the entire property on day one. But that's not really how ecological rehab works.
How so?
You don't pave the whole desert. You use this intensive 10-ton dose to create pioneer islands.
Oh, okay. Like concentrated pockets.
Exactly. Concentrated pockets of rehabilitated soil where your cover crops can take root, survive, and start dropping their own organic matter.
You build a beachhead.
Right. And once those pioneer islands are established, the biology naturally spreads outward.
That makes total sense. Jumpstart the engine in localized zones, but to really make that engine run, the OPFB compost needs its partner.
The fungus.
Right. They introduced mycorrhiza vesicular arbuscular, or MVA. Now, I've heard MVA called a microscopic root extension cord. But if the soil is so full of toxic aluminum, why doesn't it just kill the fungus too?
Well, calling it an extension cord really kind of undersells it. It's more like the plant is subcontracting its roots to a heavy-duty mining corporation.
I love that analogy.
Fungi just have a completely different cellular structure than plants. Their little threads, the hyphae, are way more resilient to heavy metals.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they actively pump out enzymes and organic acids that dissolve rock, hunting for specific elements like phosphorus to bring back to the plant.
So the plant acts like a solar panel, turning sunlight into liquid sugars, pumps it down to the fungus, and the fungus uses that energy to mine the soil.
Exactly. And a huge part of that underground operation involves this amazing protein called glomalin.
Glomalin, right.
As the MVA fungus grows, it secretes this glomalin, which is a highly hydrophobic, water-repelling protein.
Wait, water repelling. Don't we want the soil to hold water?
We want the soil to hold water, but we don't want the soil structure to collapse into mud when it rains.
Ah, I see.
Glomalin acts like a biological superglue. It coats all the loose dirt grains and binds them into these larger microaggregates.
So when a heavy rain hits, the dirt clods hold together instead of just washing away.
Precisely. They hold their shape, which leaves permanent microscopic tunnels between them where air and water can sit safely. It lets the roots breathe.
Okay, so the OPFB compost brings the raw materials, and the MVA fungus is the architect putting it all together with glomalin glue.
That's a great way to put it.
So let's talk about the actual field test.
Hmm.
They put this toxic mine soil in pots and used a legume cover crop as their pioneer plant. Why a legume? Why not just some tough grass?
Legumes are the ultimate pioneer species for dead dirt because they basically make their own fertilizer.
Through nitrogen fixing, right?
Yeah.
Right?
They partner up with these soil bacteria called rhizobia. They form tiny nodules on their roots and literally pull nitrogen gas straight out of the air.
That is just incredible.
They convert it into ammonia to grow. So even if the dirt has zero nitrogen, the legume survives by pulling it from the sky.
Brilliant. So they tested different doses of the OPFB and the MVA, and the winning combo was their max dose, right? 10 tons per hectare of compost and 6 tons per hectare of MVA.
Yeah, that treatment was the undisputed winner. The chemical transformation was just staggering,
I mean, the organic carbon essentially doubled from its starting point.
which crosses the threshold back into living dirt.
Exactly. And that CEC soil battery we talked about, it shot right back up to functional levels. The soil could finally hold charge again.
The available phosphorus increased, calcium and magnesium stabilized. It was a massive success.
But hold on, what about the poison? The heavy metals. You add 10 tons of compost, but the aluminum doesn't just evaporate, right? It's still in the pot.
Oh, it is absolutely still there.
Yeah.
This intervention doesn't delete the metal. It uses a super elegant mechanism called chelation.
Chelation. Let's break down exactly how that works for the farmers listening.
Sure. So as that thick palm waste compost breaks down, it releases a bunch of complex organic acids into the soil water.
Okay.
And those acids encounter the free toxic aluminum floating around. The organic acid molecules literally wrap themselves around the aluminum.
Like a claw. I think the word chelation actually comes from the Greek word for claw, right?
Yes. It acts exactly like a microscopic claw. It forms multiple chemical bonds and completely encases the metal ion.
It puts a chemical straitjacket on the aluminum.
Exactly. And once it's locked up in that claw, it physically cannot interact with the plant anymore. It can't bind to the DNA, can't stiffen the cell walls.
The toxic metal is completely disarmed.
Disarmed by rotting fruit bunches. The levels of exchangeable aluminum and iron plummeted to totally safe zones.
That's amazing. By the way, before any of you listening try to blindly amend your soil testing for acidity and nutrient content is essential. Definitely get some leaf testing done too so you know exactly what baseline you're starting from.
Absolutely. Always test first so you aren't guessing.
Right. So, back to the study. With the chemical assault neutralized, the biology just took off.
The plant growth results on the legume cover crop were undeniable.
Yeah, the dry weight of the plants nearly doubled with the highest fungal dose.
And the root systems, which should have been totally deformed by the aluminum, expanded aggressively. They were foraging completely normally.
Because the aluminum was locked in its straitjacket.
Exactly. But honestly, the most incredible finding wasn't even the plant size. It was what happened to the fungal population underneath it.
The soil basically turned into a microbial nursery, right?
It did. The infection rate, which is how thoroughly the MVA fungus bonds with the roots, was massive. And the spore density just exploded.
They counted almost 100 active spores in just a small handful of dirt.
In soil that was basically toxic, sterile rock just a few weeks prior.
That proves the intervention is self-replicating.
Yes. That's the moment it goes from life support to a self-sustaining ecosystem.
Let's quickly trace that feedback loop. You add the OPFB compost and the MVA fungi. The compost buffers the pH and uses chelation to lock up the metals.
Right, and it provides a massive hit of carbon and phosphorus.
Then the MVA spores wake up. They have all the raw material, so they multiply like crazy.
Their hyphae networks expand, bond with the roots, and start mining deeper into the soil for water and nutrients.
They pump that up to the plant pumps liquid carbon back down, and the fungi make more glomalin.
Which glues more soil together, improving the structure even more. It's the perfect biological flywheel.
And eventually, the plant drops leaves, roots die off naturally, and that adds even more organic matter directly into the topsoil. The ecosystem is generating its own life.
Exactly.
So we've talked a lot about a nickel mine in Indonesia today, but here is the grand takeaway, the field instruction for you, the oil palm farmers listening right now.
This is the critical part.
We spend so much time and money assuming that if our soil is tired, we can just force a yield by pouring expensive synthetic fertilizers on it.
But if your soil biology is dead, chemistry alone is useless.
Totally useless. If your soil organic carbon is depleted and your CEC battery is dead, you are literally throwing fertilizer and money down the drain.
It just washes away.
Right. So your action item for tomorrow, look at those huge piles of empty fruit bunches on your farm. Don't just see waste. See the raw fuel to rebuild your biological engine.
Get a hot composting system going, use the Berkeley method, and introduce MVA fungi into the mix.
Use it to build those pioneer islands on your most degraded blocks. You have to supply the carbon-rich fuel, and you have to deploy the fungal architects to fix the structural integrity of your land.
And that really leaves us with a provocative thought to end on.
Ugh.
We just saw how this specific combo of agricultural waste and native fungi resurrected ultra-toxic, heavy metal-laced, strip-mined rock.
The absolute worst dirt imaginable.
Right. So if these biological partnerships can conquer that brutal artificial environment, imagine what they will achieve when you apply them to your own exhausted, compacted soils.
The blueprint for bringing your plantation soil back to maximum health is already written. You just have to give these biological alliances the raw materials and let them work. Thanks for listening.